My name's Kayla from Planning with Kay, and welcome back to my channel where I create content all about bullet journaling. Today is March 1st, which means it's time for me to do my start of month bullet journal check-in. Where at the start of the month, I sit down with my bullet journal and I do some prepping and pre-planning for the month ahead, as well as some reflecting and memory keeping for the month that has passed. Now, I started bullet journaling more than 7 years ago as a way to help me to be more productive and organized. I'm someone who naturally always has struggled with consistent productivity. I love to procrastinate, I have a terrible memory, and those things together lead to a naturally very kind of like chaotic and disorganized life. Fortunately though, when I started bullet journaling, that all started to change. And through this whole journey over the last 7 years, I feel like I have learned a lot about what it takes to be consistently productive and organized. So while I do some bullet journaling today, I also just want to have a little candid chat about 3 big tips to boost productivity. Whether you bullet journal or not, these tips are going to be helpful. So let's crack right into my bullet journal, start doing some planning and memory keeping while I talk about 3 tips to boost productivity. Before jumping into my bullet journal, I also quickly want to announce a new sticker collection that's available in my sticker shop. This is my brand new Coral Reef sticker collection, my newest publicly released stickers. I create new stickers every single month with a new theme that my patrons vote on, and this was the one I designed back in January. My patrons have already received these stickers, so now they are available for public purchase in my sticker shop. I also have listed a bundle that includes a bunch of other stickers that go really well with this collection, like this watercolor splash monthly kit, this sheet of watercolor circles, and of course this OG decorative tropical beach sheet. If you like any of these stickers, they are all available in my sticker shop, PlanningWithKay.com, and I'll have that linked in the description down below. So with those new sticker announcements out of the way, let's jump right into my bullet journal. So before I do any planning for March, I first want to go back to February and just reflect on this last month. So I'm going to go to my February monthly spreads and I'm going to do some memory keeping. I've printed out some photos, so I'm just going to start cutting out photos and pasting them in here to record some memories from February. And while I start cutting out these photos, let's talk productivity. So before I talk about my 3 tips for boosting productivity, I think it's important to first acknowledge the big roadblocks when it comes to being productive. For me, like I mentioned, I think the main roadblocks are procrastination, bad memory, just not being able to remember the things I need to get done. And then there's also the whole side of like lack of motivation, poor mental health. Being productive is a big picture type of thing. There isn't one answer or one reason why we struggle to be productive. It's something that really ties into every aspect of our life. So if you're someone who is struggling to be productive, be gentle with yourself through that. There are a lot of reasons that we can be struggling in general. And at the end of the day, there are always things that we can do and ways that we can improve our own balance when it comes to being productive, taking care of ourselves, all that good stuff. So if you're on a journey of trying to be more organized or more productive, just acknowledge that it's going to be a process. It's kind of like building any new healthy habit. It's not all going to happen at once. There are going to be waves along the way of being more or less productive, more or less organized, and that is just part of life, and that's okay. Now, some of these memories here I actually have from January, because I did not paste in my January photos, so I'm going to paste in some photos on January and then some on February. In this conversation too, I think it's important to acknowledge that life isn't just about being productive. Productivity and how productive you are is not the indicator of what a balanced and good life you have. And I don't want to pretend that I am productive all the time. I'm not. And that's okay. Again, we are not put on this earth just to be productive. We're also put on this earth to enjoy things and experience things and live in balance. But now, all that being said, I get it that we want to be more productive. We live in a very demanding, busy world, and there's so much for us to be doing all the time and not nearly enough hours to do it. So that comes into my first tip for boosting productivity, which for me is writing things down. Now, when I say writing things down, I really do mean physically, like with pen and paper, not digitally. There have been so many studies that show the power of writing things down physically. It helps your brain to remember things more. It helps to lock those things into your brain when you're able to physically write them down. So for me, when it comes to productivity, I like to write everything down. I like to write down my to-do lists, future plans, bills, appointments, my schedule, anything that I have coming up or anything I know I need to prep for, I want to write it down somewhere. For me, my bullet journal is the place where I write everything down. But again, these tips apply whether you bullet journal or not. Whether you use a paper planner or you just have a notepad near you that you jot things down on, the actual method of writing things down is not what matters so much as the act of it. So if you're somebody who's trying to learn how to be more productive and you're starting at square one, just start with a paper notepad. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You just want a place where with pen and paper, you can write things down and get into the habit of writing things down. So yeah, start writing things down. Start today, grab a piece of paper, grab an old notebook you have sitting around, go find a cheap notebook from the store. You don't need anything fancy to get started. You just want to start consistently writing things down. Your to-do lists, upcoming events, goals, plans, future wishes, your feelings, anything. And that habit will become easier and easier over time. Now, of course, just writing things down is not enough. Because if you just write down a to-do list and then you never look at it again, it's not going to help you to be more productive. So tip number 2 to boosting productivity is to find a consistent schedule that works for you. And what I mean by this is you need to find a consistent schedule by which you can write things down and look back at the things you have written. So personally, I think this works best if you can find a way to either daily or weekly check in with these physical notes that you're writing. For me, obviously, my schedule revolves around my bullet journal. So I look at my bullet journal every single day. This means that when I'm writing things down throughout the day, things I need to get done, events that are coming up, I know that when the day comes, I'm going to be seeing that list and nothing is going to get forgotten. Where I myself get into trouble is when I don't stick with my bullet journal schedule and routine, and I become inconsistent in using my journal. That means I'm not seeing the things I write, I'm not seeing what I have to get done, and it's really easy for things to fall through the cracks. My cat Luna is now begging for attention. So now that you've started writing things down, find a consistent time every single day that you can check in with those lists and write down anything else you need to. I think a really easy way to start doing this is to decide that you're going to write your lists and check on your lists either the first thing in the morning or the last thing at the end of the day. I think this really is kind of the trickiest part of enforcing any new habit in your life. It's the same if you're trying to exercise consistently, if you're trying to change your eating habits, anything new. The hardest part is just making it a consistent part of your routine. It takes time to build that consistency into your daily schedule and daily routine. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to feel easy right away. It's going to be a little bit difficult to be consistent with something that you've never done before. So again, just be patient with yourself, be gentle, be forgiving, and just remember, you want to write things down and you want to do it consistently so you're actually seeing the things you wrote down and not just forgetting about it. So you really want to try to find that consistent schedule that works for you. Okay, so I've gone through my February spreads, pasted in some photos, just kind of looked and reflected on my lists and to-do lists for this last month, and I'm feeling ready now to jump into March and start to build out my calendar for the month. So I'm gonna fill in everything I already know is coming up for March, all of my events, all of my to-do lists, and for this, I'm glancing at my digital calendar just because it's something that I share with my husband. So we have some upcoming events and deadlines in there. I'm also going to reference my live stream schedule and just start to build out my March calendar. I'm going to put in all of my live streams for the month. This next month is packed with live streams, and I'm doing public live streams for the first 4 Sundays of March right here on YouTube. So if you like the live streams, we got some coming up. So now that I have my calendars all filled in for March, I'm gonna go to my first weekly for March here and just start to transfer anything over to my weekly spread that I know is coming up for March 4th through 10th. All right, so I got everything on my weekly that I need. So this is also when I like to go to my start of my bullet journal long-term spreads. I don't check in with these spreads quite as often as my monthlies and weeklies. So when I do have a chance to really sit down with my bullet journal to check in like this, I like to go back to these spreads to see if there's anything that I can fill in from the last month. So one thing I know I want to fill in is the stickers I designed this last month. In February, I designed these ramen and sushi stickers, which has got to be one of my favorite collections I've ever created. I'm so obsessed with how this turned out, and this is part of my March sticker subscription over on Patreon. So if you do want to receive these stickers, you can join my $15, $25, or $30 Patreon tiers anytime throughout the month of March. And I am going to be shipping these out in just a few days to my March patrons. So if you want to receive these and get them as soon as possible, join my Patreon, and I have that linked in the description below. So while I'm going back and updating some of these long-term spreads, let's talk about my third tip to boost productivity, and that is to be realistic. Again, I view trying to boost your productivity the same way I view other goals like working out, eating right, losing weight, more traditional New Year's resolution type goals. And I think the biggest mistake people can make is being unrealistic about their expectations going into building this new habit. You don't want to go into trying to be more productive thinking that you're going to immediately start getting 20 things checked off your to-do list every day, that you're going to be on top of it 24/7 without any issue. Realistically, that is not going to happen. Life is unpredictable, and it's always going to throw things in your way that you're not expecting. And the more that you put this pressure on yourself to be super productive all the time, the harder it's going to be to bounce back when life happens. So again, try to be realistic. Try to set yourself smaller goals that are easier to achieve so you can kind of build up in your quest to being more productive and more organized. So what does that actually look like? Maybe try limiting your to-do lists. If you are every single morning checking in with your planner or your journal and writing down what you want to get done that day, maybe just try doing 3 things. Keep it to your top 3. If you got nothing else done that day, what 3 things do you want to get done? Similarly, if you are not yet in the habit of writing things down consistently, trying to tell yourself, I am going to journal or use my planner every single day might not be a very realistic goal, and ultimately it might be setting yourself up for disappointment or discouragement if you're not able to keep up with that. So I know this might seem like a funny tip, but really be realistic and be flexible. And I promise that the more flexibility you grant yourself as you're trying to learn how to be more productive, the easier a time you're going to have with adjusting to the ebbs and flows of life. All right, the last thing that I want to do is I want to go back to the spread I set up for February that I called my ideal weekly schedule, where I kind of penciled out an idea of a weekly schedule that would work for me. Like I was saying earlier, it's such an important thing to come up with like a consistent schedule that works for you. I've currently been in the process of trying to like iron out a weekly schedule for myself. So I'm just gonna kind of review this schedule, take into account how this last month has gone, and lock some things in pen that I think have really been working this last month. So right now I'm basically just kind of color coding consistent parts of my day that I've noticed seem to work in this schedule. All right, so I think that is all of the preparation I have to do for March right now. Again, it's March 1st today, so I just wanted to check in with my bullet journal plan and kind of prep for the month ahead, get my calendar filled out for March and all that good stuff. I put in all my memories. I, reflected and kind of looked back at the month of February, and then also got ready for March. And I am feeling very prepped and ready for this next month. I also hope you guys enjoyed just like the kind of more casual, unscripted discussion about productivity and the 3 tips that I started with when it comes to boosting productivity. You don't need to bullet journal, you don't need a planner, you don't need any specific system. You just need to write things down, find a consistent schedule by which you can write things down and reference what you wrote, and be realistic and be flexible with yourself. Again, I think these are tips that are really applicable no matter who you are, no matter why you want to be more productive or how you want to be more productive. These are some like foundational tips that I think are really helpful no matter who you are. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a little bit of a different one for me. Again, a little bit more unscripted and just kind of chatting about this while I do some old-fashioned bullet journaling. Let me know how you guys like this more candid discussion in the comments below. I've been posting videos every single weekend, so I love getting your guys' video ideas. Knowing what you guys want to see next is always appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more bullet journaling content every single week. I'm also live streaming this Sunday, so I hope to see some of you guys there as I work on some new sticker designs. If you want to sign up for monthly sticker deliveries, go check out my Patreon, and all of the links to my sticker shop, Patreon, and other social media are down in the description below. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.